The U.S. and Western allies could be headed for a showdown with Serbian forces in Bosnia. U.S. Marines bring Somali villages their first food shipment in months. Now the Somalis are begging for protection. And hunger also hits home. Tonight's Eye on America, investigating the hunger problem right in our own backyard.
So I get stomach aches if I don't eat or anything until supper times. And if I'm hungry, I just take some scraps.
This is the CBS Evening News. Good evening, Dan Rather reporting. The United States could soon find itself in the middle of the war in what used to be Yugoslavia. The NATO allies finally said today they are ready to enforce the United Nations no-fly zone over Bosnia. And President Bush is now offering U.S. warplanes to do the job. Pentagon correspondent David Martin has our report.
More grief in Bosnia. Women weeping after children at play were hit by a mortar shell. Another day in a Holocaust the world seems powerless to stop. No one is more eloquent about the need for action than Bosnia's foreign minister.
Should I mention the fact that we have already over 20,000 children killed? And those left are not children anymore because they saw their mothers raped, their fathers, brothers and sisters killed. This is an extermination of a people. And the civilized world should act.
Today, the West inched closer to some kind of action when Secretary of State Eagleberger told NATO foreign ministers the U.S. is willing to use its warplanes to shoot down any aircraft which violate a flight ban over Bosnia. At the same time, however, the leader of the Serbs in Bosnia sent a letter to the UN Secretary General warning that if Serbian aircraft were shot down, UN peacekeeping forces on the ground would be declared hostile. Despite the risk, the NATO allies said they would go along with whatever the UN decides.
Should the Security Council adopt a resolution on enforcement of the no-fly zone, and should violations continue thereafter, we would be prepared to support the United Nations in enforcing.
Using American aircraft to enforce the ban risks more than just the physical safety of UN troops. If they do become targets, it will be harder to deliver the relief supplies which are staving off mass starvation. All that to enforce a ban which is being violated by Serbian helicopter flights, but which nevertheless has succeeded in stopping most of the killing from the air.
Since the no-fly zone has passed, the use of combat aircraft to bomb positions on the ground has trickled down to almost nothing.
Whether or not it will do any good, the UN Security Council is expected to vote on an enforcement resolution sometime next week, although the details of exactly how and when it would go into effect remain to be worked out. Dan?
David, what happens if the Serbs fire on a U.S. warplane or if they retaliate against those UN forces on the ground?
Well, first they would shoot back, but more importantly, an attack on the UN peacekeepers would interfere with the delivery of relief supplies. And the U.S. has already said it's prepared to fly air cover to ensure the delivery of relief supplies. And NATO basically said the same thing today. So if UN peacekeepers were attacked, I think you would see the U.S. and its allies go from simple enforcement of the no-fly ban to actually flying close air support for relief convoys. And that, of course, would be one step deeper into Bosnia.
David Martin, live at the Pentagon. Thanks. Chancellor Helmut Kohl said today he will send 1,500 armed German troops to Somalia in a historic reversal of policy. Until now, post-World War II Germany has stayed out of international military missions, even humanitarian ones, on constitutional grounds. But Kohl says Somalia is an exception because there's no declared war there. U.S. Marines already in Somalia fanned out today, guarding food shipments to the hungry and isolated areas. Now the question is, what happens to the food after the Marines leave? From Baidoa, correspondent Bob Simon has tonight's report on the rescue in Somalia.
The farther you go, the thinner they get. That could be the opening line in a guidebook to Somalia written by the advancing forces. They pushed out from Baidoa today to the countryside, to villages and hamlets which had received no relief for months. The Marines escorted a wheat convoy and were escorted by Cobra gunships. The mission was designed to feed and intimidate, to drive out the gunmen who fled here from Baidoa the minute the troops arrived. But as soon as the Marines move on, the looters will be back. That's what the villagers told the Americans. Stay with us, they pleaded. You brought us food, now help us keep it. That's what they said before the Marines moved on. So at the end of the food chain, there's a guy with a gun. The Marine Command here decided today to ban all armed vehicles from Baidoa and to confiscate any weapons which are openly displayed. But that's still a far cry from disarming the thugs.
It's a semi-automatic machine gun.
To show that they're dealing with the problem, the Marines mounted a display of captured weapons today. In another country, it might have been impressive. In this most heavily armed nation, it was little more than nothing at all. The trouble is that many of the weapons still in circulation are carried by men defending the relief agencies. And how do you tell them apart?
Some of our drivers returning from Baidoa had their guns removed. So there's just a bit of confusion.
The commander of the operation, Lieutenant General Robert Johnston, inspected the troops in Baidoa today and admitted he had a problem.
You can't just run out there and try to take every weapon off every Somali. It's got to be done the right way, and part of that is a diplomatic issue and a military issue.
It's also a police issue. That's what people here want more than anything else, a police force. And that is one thing the Marines insist they cannot become. Bob Simon, CBS News, Baidoa.
The U.S. military has a ban on gays and lesbians in its ranks. President-elect Clinton has promised to change that. But now, as correspondent Jim Stewart reports, opposition to gays in the military is taking a new and ugly turn.
In September, Seaman Alan Schindler told the Navy he was gay. In October, he was savagely beaten to death in this Japanese park. 2 shipmates have been charged.
We could not identify his body. The only way we could identify his body is because he had tattoos on his arms.
Schindler was assigned to the amphibious assault ship the Belleau Wood, home ported in Sasebo, Japan. Today, the Navy confirmed to CBS News that 24 hours after Schindler's death, another sailor aboard the Belleau Wood announced his homosexuality and was quickly hustled off the ship because of fears for his safety. Schindler's family said the 22-year-old sailor had complained before his death of widespread gay bashing aboard the Belleau Wood.
I know that my son was very unhappy on the ship, and he would do anything to get off of it. He told a friend that how he was being harassed and how people would pass him in the hallway and poke him in his side and call him names.
Some gay activists today call for the Navy to turn over its investigation to the Justice Department. Tanya Dami is a former captain in the Army and says the Pentagon has fostered a dangerous atmosphere for homosexuals.
That the senior leadership of the military and our political leaders are responsible for the heightened attitude that is anti-gay and lesbian right now that exists in the armed forces.
Privately, some senior military leaders have been warning that gay bashing could become a problem in the ranks if President-elect Clinton carries through with his promise to lift the ban on gays in the service. Seaman Alan Schindler, his family and friends say, could be brutal evidence of that. Jim Stewart, CBS News, Washington.
Still ahead on tonight's CBS Evening News, millions of American children living in poverty at risk of poor health. And a landmark in AIDS research, how a vaccine that works in monkeys may help man.
I like my Raisin Bran. Is this new? Total Raisin Bran has 100% of all these vitamins and minerals. And Kellogg's has 100% of only one. This is incredible.
Total Raisin Bran. The Raisin Bran with the total difference.
Shoot some slices, shoot some shreds, shoot some salad, 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 salad shooter.
Presto Salad Shooter Slicer Shredder. Point and shoot right where you want. Clean up easy, dishwasher safe, store anywhere.
Salad shooter.
Original and professional salad shooter.
Always brought me luck.
Not bad.
White Diamonds, the intriguing new fragrance from Elizabeth Taylor.
President-elect Clinton has named 2 more members of his cabinet. He chose Henry Cisneros, the former mayor of San Antonio, Texas, to be Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. Cisneros is the first Hispanic named to the Clinton cabinet. And Jesse Brown, a disabled Vietnam veteran, was nominated today to be Secretary of Veterans Affairs. Brown is the second African-American Clinton is nominated for a cabinet post. The president-elect promises to make help for children in this country a priority. Today, the Children's Defense Fund is out with a report on just how many children need help and what it could cost. Rita Braver has more about children in America, the money, the people, and the politics.
The state of America's children is desperate. According to the new study, 1 out of every 5 children lives in poverty. That's 14.3 million, the highest number in more than a quarter of a century.
Just let them see. You just want to look in your ears, okay?
Laverne Blunt gets Medicaid for her children, but getting by is still a struggle.
For people that don't have much money, they be really trying to, trying to make it out here and trying to see that the kids get what's needed for them. You know what I'm saying?
The report says 40% of poor children are white, 34% black, 22% Latino. That families with one working parent making minimum wage cannot afford a decent 2-bedroom apartment. And that less than 60% of all babies are properly immunized against diseases like polio, measles, and whooping cough. The head of the Children's Defense Fund says that billions more must be spent on children.
We have got to recognize that our children in crisis cross every state, every cultural, racial, and socioeconomic boundary, and it is time for our new president and for our new Congress to begin to invest in children first.
Edelman's plea for children is drawing special notice because Hillary Clinton has long been active in the Children's Defense Fund. But even though Bill Clinton has promised to make children a top priority, the question is where he'll get the money to make their lives better. Tom Scully, who works on children's issues in the Bush White House, predicts it won't be easy.
We have been definitely on the up ramp on children's spending, but it's got to come from someplace. Do you want to raise taxes? Do you want to cut? Do you want to trim Social Security, Medicare, defense? You have to make the tough choices.
I don't care how we find the money, we just have to find the money. If the foundation of your national house is crumbling, if your children are dying from measles and from polio that we know how to prevent, and when we know that that's going to save money on the other end, we cannot afford not to do it.
And children's advocates say they'll keep the pressure on, even asking Clinton to raise taxes if that's the only way to pull America's children out of poverty. Rita Braver, CBS News, Washington.
The U.S. Census Bureau told us something about ourselves today that may surprise you. In the past decade, the number of us living alone has doubled. 1 out of every 4 American households now consists of just one person. Coming up on the CBS Evening News, Israel expels the largest group of Palestinians ever, putting Middle East peace talks in jeopardy.
An hour into the job, he said something was wrong. He thought it was just a little congestion, but when the cough and the burning fever kicked in, he knew it was more. Kevin Ross is no stranger to pain, but this is the flu, and that calls for serious medicine. Doctor recommended Theraflu, strong medicine in the soothing warmth of a hot liquid to ease flu symptoms fast. Theraflu, your flu misery stops here. And for powerful nighttime relief, new Theraflu Maximum Strength Nighttime.
Congratulations, what do you say?
Chapstick medicated, please.
Introducing Chapstick Medicated, triple medicated. You can feel it working immediately. New Chapstick Medicated, triple medicated relief.
The Remington microscreen shaves as close as a blade or your money back. 2 flexible screens let you shave whiskers below skin level. It's quick, smooth, comfortable. A great value. The Remington microscreen.
State finals coming up. A lot of pressure to win. I don't eat right, I get irregular, so I don't project a winning attitude, and the boys see that. I tried some natural bulk fiber, but I couldn't take all that grit. Then I discovered Sunrise Smooth Metamucil. No grit in the mix or the taste. Easy to get the extra fiber I need every day to stay regular. You got a winning attitude, you win, if you're lucky.
Metamucil, and you could stay regular for the rest of your life.
This man was prescribed a treatment that was supposed to save his life. Instead, it killed him. The government may have known about the risks, but he sure didn't. Street Stories with Ed Bradley tonight.
Russian President Boris Yeltsin is on his first official visit to China. Touring the Great Wall, Yeltsin predicted his country and China will reduce the number of troops along their disputed border. Yeltsin said there are, and I quote, great prospects for military cooperation. Israel started deporting hundreds of Palestinians tonight, ignoring a plea from President Bush. The deportation prompted cancellation of today's session of the Mideast peace talks and may scuttle them completely. More on the story from CBS newsman Jesse Schulman in Israel.
A fleet of buses rolls across the border with military escort from Israel into southern Lebanon. Aboard, almost 400 Palestinians accused of being or aiding Islamic extremists, expelled for up to 2 years by order of the Israeli government. Their journey into exile began last night. They were taken from prison, loaded aboard buses, and driven, bound and blindfolded towards the border. The expulsions were the government's answer to a surge in attacks against Israeli forces. The latest victim was a border policeman kidnapped and murdered earlier this week. Human rights groups went to the Israeli Supreme Court, but managed only to delay the expulsions, not prevent them. Prime Minister Rabin made it clear who was the target of the deportations.
Those Islamic fundamentalistic murders and the movement that supported with the purpose to murder Israelis and to kill the peace process.
Israel says it wants the peace talks in Washington to stay on track, but moderate Palestinians who met with President Bush today said there couldn't be business as usual.
I really can't tell you what will happen. I think it will deal a death blow to the peace process.
But Rabin seems to be hoping that cracking down on the extremists will strengthen the hand of those who want a peaceful solution to the conflict. Jesse Schulman, CBS News, Tel Aviv.
Norelco doesn't just shave close, but incredibly close. Or merely shave in comfort, but exceptional comfort. Because inside Norelco's floating heads, our lift and cut system lifts the hair so when it's cut, it can drop below skin level without the blades touching your face. And once you've shaved that close and comfortable, you know you'll always be comfortable shaving with Norelco. Norelco, we make close comfortable.
Oh yeah, we're gonna twist! Tater twister, big surprise! Cuts and shapes some curly fries!
Presto Tater Twister Electric Curly Cutter cuts potatoes and other vegetables automatically into curly cuts. Fry some crisp curly fries, onion strings, zucchini curls too. Tater Twister pays for itself in the money it saves. Even spiral cuts, potatoes with a new twist, nutritious hot dishes, fancy things. Clean up fast, easy, fun.
Tater Twister!
And Pro Tater Twister.
If you've got a cold, you are about to experience the shape of things to come. Introducing a new maximum strength cold gel caplet that's easy to swallow. Dristan Cold, the face of relief today. New from the makers of Dristan.
The doctor said to use hydrocortisone cream for my itch.
Try Preparation H hydrocortisone cream to effectively relieve problem itch.
It worked great, and I didn't need a prescription.
Preparation H hydrocortisone cream. Prescription strength without a prescription.
They say their cough syrup for kids is new and improved, but what's new is something you probably won't like at all. Tomorrow on CBS This Morning with Harry Smith and Paula Zahn.
Some scientists call it a landmark development in AIDS research. It's an experimental vaccine that appears to work against a form of AIDS affecting monkeys. Down the road, it could be a model for a vaccine that works for people. CBS News health correspondent Edie Magnus reports on the promise and the risk on the way to a human AIDS vaccine.
In the race to develop a vaccine against AIDS, all eyes are now focused here, the New England Primate Center, where scientists just may have found the first long-lasting protection against this deadly disease. Monkeys inoculated with an experimental vaccine nearly 3 years ago remain healthy, even while being repeatedly exposed to simian or monkey strains of the virus.
It's highly likely that this is going to be the most protective, the most effective vaccine we could ever make.
The most effective, yet in people, potentially the most risky. Still, some scientists are saying it may soon be time to test a vaccine similar to this in small groups of high-risk human volunteers.
The safety issues, yes, are difficult, but if other vaccine approaches do not work, we have to be ready with more radical approaches.
The danger? This vaccine is made of live AIDS virus, a concept that's actually nothing new. Vaccinations for many illnesses like polio and measles all contain a weakened form of the disease in order to trigger your body to be on the defense against it. The experimental AIDS vaccine has weakened virus too. Part of its genetic structure was actually taken out. Still, experts worry someone vaccinated with the altered HIV virus might not develop AIDS, but could be at risk for other problems down the line. Problems that are theoretical but scary enough.
A variety of leukemias, sarcomas, autoimmune effects, autoimmune diseases, and a variety of neurological disorders that are known in animal models.
With all the long-term safety concerns, this live virus vaccine approach will have a tough time getting federal approval to be tested in people. On the other hand, other experimental vaccines against AIDS aren't working very well. Ironically, the approach that was all but written off as too dangerous is the one that seems most capable of succeeding. Dan?
Edie, so far all the testing has been on monkeys. How soon before tests are run on people?
They want to keep testing in monkeys for about another 3 to 5 years. And then they are saying this vaccine, an HIV vaccine, could be tested in small numbers of high-risk volunteers. But that testing phase in people could take 10, 15, even 20 years before all of the questions about safety get answered. It looks very interesting, Dan, but this could be a long way off.
Edie Magnus, thanks. Coming up next on Eye on America. Tonight, a national disgrace. In this land of plenty, hunger is spreading.
We'll make sure that they have something to eat.
The Braun Oral-B Plaque Remover is clinically proven to remove plaque, a major cause of gum disease, which affects 3 out of 4 adults. Its unique cup-shaped brush oscillates to thoroughly clean between each tooth and below the gum line, leaving teeth so clean you'll feel the difference. For exceptional plaque removal, the Braun Oral-B Plaque Remover.
Only Isotoner makes gloves for every occasion. Gloves for every interpretation and every individual style. In fact, Isotoner offers as many styles and colors as there are ways to express yourself. Isotoner gloves. Make your own kind of music.
Quality results depend on making the right investments, and at Ford Motor Company, that begins with our employees. We invest over $20 million each month in the continuing education and training of our employees, and they, in turn, teach us new things every day. The bottom line, increased motivation and an obsession with quality.
At Ford, an investment in education is an investment in quality.
Ford Motor Company, quality is job one. It's working.
How many times I told my dad to see a doctor. He was stubborn. But the pain in his stomach just wouldn't go away. He had to go. You should have seen the relief on his face when the doctor said Mylanta. He said it was indigestion, and his kind of indigestion needed strong medicine.
Mylanta is strong medicine, strongly recommended. In fact, Mylanta is the antacid doctors recommend most.
My doctor said Mylanta.
Also available in tablets and new gel caps.
The numbers are staggering. Tens of millions of people going hungry. Some will die. And this time, no foreign army will come to the rescue. These hungry are not in impoverished Somalia. These hungry live in the richest nation on earth. Scott Pelley reports tonight's Eye on America.
Jeff and I will go without food before the kids will. We'll make sure that they have something to eat.
A working-class neighborhood in Moline, Illinois.
Okay, drink your milk up and eat your toast.
I know I probably should eat, but if the food's not there, then their first priority.
Jeff and Dee Kettler have stopped eating breakfast and lunch to make sure there's enough for their 4 children. Jeff was laid off in October, and now his is one of a growing number of American families suddenly hungry.
I get stomach aches if I don't eat or anything.
until supper time.
How does it make you feel that Mom and Dad aren't eating all the time?
They don't eat lunch if there's not enough food, but they eat supper all the time. Not if there's not enough food for supper.
That's the picture of hunger in America. This is where hunger is growing among intact two-parent families.
Larry Brown wrote a report for Congress that estimates 30 million Americans are not getting enough food.
Hunger is no longer confined to Appalachia or to Indian reservations. Hunger in America is a silent epidemic.
From repossessed farms to shuttered factories, many Americans are refugees of recession, the ranks of the hungry growing by 1 million a year. In New Orleans, many patients in children's hospitals suffer malnutrition from disease, others from lack of food.
Sometimes if family give them the right diet, they still don't gain weight, and then someone will walk into the room and find out the parents are eating the child's tray because they don't have enough food at home, or and then they eat the child's food, and we think they're getting the calories, and they're not. Okay, I'll go on.
These children do not have the same IQ. They are more disruptive in school. They're less well behaved. There's a significant impact as far as the development is concerned.
You don't often hear about hungry children in the U.S. starving to death. That's because disease kills them first. Malnutrition weakens the immune system, so these children often die of infections like pneumonia or the measles. It is a toll that is growing as hunger spreads.
Today in New Orleans, half the residents are on food stamps.
You got 1 can of beans, can of carrots.
Patricia Delmore tries to feed 3 daughters on food stamps, but like most families, she finds the monthly stamps last only about 3 weeks.
You are out of food.
Mm-hmm.
What would you do if it wasn't for the food bank?
I don't know what I'd do. Starve, I guess.
Emergency food banks help, but most are so strapped themselves, recipients are allowed to come back only once every 3 months.
That's the food bank's procedure.
Does that even begin to cover the problem?
No, I would say that people are pretty much in crisis on an ongoing basis.
A crisis growing larger as government budgets fall farther behind.
We're missing, for example, about 40% of the poor with the food stamp program. We're missing 60 to 70% of children who need the school breakfast program. This is why we have hunger in America.
At night, Jeff and Dee prepare their first meal of the day. This month's food stamp groceries are in their 3rd and final week.
When Jeff and I go without, we hit bed early and try not to think about ourselves.
We always get a glass of milk. If we're out of milk, we don't get anything but a glass of water. But to me, I don't like that 4th week. I hate the 4th week.
This month, the 4th week includes Christmas. Shelley is asking Santa to help Somalia, even as her own family joins the quiet struggle with hunger at home. In Moline, Illinois, Scott Pelley for Eye on America.
And that's part of our world tonight. Don't forget Street Stories coming up on this CBS station at 8 Central Time. Dan Rather for the CBS Evening News. See you tomorrow. Good night.
Experience CBS News.
This champion boxed his way out of the ghetto. These kids are doing it too. They're also learning something else. Wait till you hear what it is. Eye on America tomorrow on the CBS Evening News. This is CBS.
America's greatest coat, suit, fur, and leather sale comes to Secaucus, New Jersey, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's a sale